Right.
Okay, so what were you saying? So hold on, you're on your second week.
Yeah.
You feel physically fabulous, right?
Invulnerable. Yes. I feel fantastic.
Yeah, and you are eating all of the food, not all of the food, up and down.
Not all of the food. I make sure that I get my protein in every day. And I usually make sure I get one apple in a day because that's just something I really look forward to.
Yeah, last time you and I met, though, didn't we talk about you needing to, you had started off with the diet mentality and you were trying to force yourself, wanting to lose as much weight as possible. And last week when we met, I basically slapped you in the face verbally about the approach, right? You're taking.
Yes, and you even told me to add an egg in the morning. You said, go ahead and add a protein because that seems to be something that will hold you through longer during the day. And the time that I eat every day is different. There's no set time that I eat. Sometimes I'm hungrier in the morning than I am other days, but if I do have some of my protein shake in the morning, it lasts and I'm happy. I'm doing a much, much better job of listening, and I have not needed to have the egg because I just haven't been hungry.
Awesome. So in recap, your first week you were trying to force because you wanted to lose as much weight as possible. You talked to me. I basically shook that out of your system. You were to eat, and so you were going through that learning curve process of how do I do this to feel physically the best? Regardless of what happens with the scale, you have to adjust what you're eating timed-wise with when you're hungry to get the most impact physically. And would you say at this point you physically feel amazing?
I do, and I'm not thinking at all about the food or it's noon and I have to eat. I feel fantastic.
Okay, good. Okay, so then what were you saying? So repeat what you...
Well, you asked me, how has this week been for me? I used to work with kids who were in treatment, and predictably they would go through this phase where once a light bulb went off in their head, you could see this change in them, like they had this treatment high. And that's what happened to me last week. After I met with you, I felt like, I get it. I can eat when I'm hungry. And I learned this during the practice, but it feels like it's constant practice. It's constant learning. And so after we met last week, I haven't weighed myself. I don't need to because I feel so good. And I'm taking a back seat and I'm just trusting this process. I'm letting my body tell me what it needs and I'm giving it what it needs and it works. I'm happy. I'm content.
For that to happen, would you agree it required that you stop needing the body to perform?
Yes.
You had to choose, and this is how that last week's session was about. It's basically getting you to shut up and accept the truth of your body. Don't expect it to perform for your low self-esteem.
Yeah, and that was so pivotal for me. And you worked harder than I did last week, definitely. But it definitely paid off because it was like a light bulb went off.
You know, I have to say, people who don't want to let go of their beliefs that keep them ill, they don't like me.
No.
Could you see why? I mean, because I have no problem ripping off their cover. I have no problem pointing out what they're doing. I'm not judging. I've done this before. I have a lot of compassion for that mental illness. But when someone feels that they're being threatened by the fact that I'm hoping and I'm dismantling their beliefs, it can come across as if I am the bad guy. You were ready to hear what I had to say enough that you were willing to admit or recognize the truth. And then willing to do it.
And there's freedom in it. There's this, I don't have to control this process. It is my body that has the opportunity to heal. and change, and it's going to do what it's going to do.
Whether you like it or not, right? Or let me rephrase that, whether your beliefs like it or not. Because the belief system is what creates the neediness or the desire to micromanage the body and change it, right? So if you're willing to change your beliefs, all of a sudden you're out allowed to just be accepting of whatever the body's providing you right now.
And it's such a relief. That's all I can tell you is it just felt like there was just this relief. Probably not right after our session, but maybe a day or so after, I thought, I'm not the driver. As long as my behavior, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, everything else is going to fall into place, and I can just let go of the rest of it. And that just feels really good.
Yes, that is so freeing. If you are telling the truth about the integrity of what your body is telling you to do, if you just do what it tells you to do, and you are holding yourself to it, to the best of your ability, you have to be accepting of the outcome. Because if you can't do that, if you can't listen to your body and live within the means of the body's scope, if you can't accept the outcome, you are in a losing battle for the rest of your life. You better accept whatever crazy belief system you have to impose. You better be on top of that. Because, yeah, and so essentially what I said is, hey, let it all go. Let's just listen to your body, and then you just have to know that whatever the outcome is, that's the outcome of the body. That's the truth of the body. It's not the truth of your diet. It's not the truth of your beliefs, but it is the truth of the body, right? So you might as well start with that.
Right.
So freeing. Because you have, really, where's the responsibility at this point? It's on your body. It's on your body. Your body's responsible.
Oh.
It's not your responsibility anymore.
The eating, what I eat, is my responsibility.
Yeah, but your body's telling you when and how much, and even to some extent, what. So whose responsibility is it? Honestly, it's your body's. So you're basically letting go of responsibility. You're holding yourself to follow the guidance of the body. That's where your responsibility comes in, is in being truthful about, this is the truth of my body. I'm going to be responsible to that. And I have to then accept whatever my body provides me with that guidance. I'm letting it tell me where it's going. So in order for you to be willing to do that, you have to let go of the preconceived ideas around what you think you need. That isn't necessarily the truth of what the body thinks it needs. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
So
I'm going to cry.
It dismantles your image. That image that you had of what you needed, it literally is like the body says, put it away. It's not going to work for me. And you have to say, okay, that's the truth. I have to, at some point, you have to accept that. And the sooner you accept it, what do you get?
Oh,
freedom.
It's a long list of things you get. It's
like so freeing.
It's freeing, and it's such a more loving, peaceful way to live. I'm not arguing with the scale anymore. I'm not arguing about what things are supposed to be or should be. It was hard to get here for me, but I'm so glad I got here. I came in to lose weight, and that's why I called you, and that was my first appointment, was all about losing weight. And this has been about self-exploration, and it's been, I'm going to cry, and it's been about just letting go and learning a whole new way to think about how I approach not just food in my body, but everything. It's pretty powerful.
Who would have thought, right? Dr. Simeon's HCG protocol. Google weight loss diet HCG pops up. Well, for you to be too attracted, that first meeting that I have with new patients, there has to be something that spoke to you for you to have been willing to submit yourself to this. You have to be willing to hear something outside of your own spectrum. There has to be something that tells you or speaks to you in a way that says, this is expansive. This isn't matching the same dogma that I've been living. That's comfortable for me. This is a completely different view. Whoever would have thought that by not demanding weight loss and not caring about your weight in terms of needing it emotionally, that you would have the freedom to live.
Exactly.
It's kind of crazy. Most people cannot fathomably within the psychological illness of body image, body image illness or religion as you call it, or diet illness. Within that spectrum, you're not going to get out of it.
Right.
It requires that you literally end the beliefs. Most people aren't willing to lose the belief that being thin and healthy makes you a more valuable person. How often do you hear being thin and healthy doesn't make you better or happier?
No, you usually hear lose 10 pounds, lose 20 pounds, and you'll be happy.
Yeah, that is the biggest joke ever. It's not true. It's not true.
No.
You know that tangibly, right? But yet you still believed the carrot. You still were sucked into the vortex of that matrix, right? I have to be thin and healthy. I have to micromanage my food. I have to know everything that I put in my body. I cannot have this. I have to eliminate that. I need to always monitor my weight to make sure that I stay within that safe realm of my self-esteem, right? Like your weight and your body size and how healthy you are is what your self-worth is founded on. Like that's the most important thing. Like you're supposed to weigh yourself every day just to make sure your body never goes beyond a certain boundary. That's a cult. Are you hearing it? Do you see it?
They do. It's
brainwashing. You've been indoctrinated. That's what that is. It's amazing when you start. So if you start watching YouTube videos of just people who are in the diet vortex, you're going to go, this is really sad. Have you been watching any of my videos?
I watched your videos the first couple of weeks, but I didn't this last week because our session last week was so powerful.
Yeah, you needed to stay in the presence of it. Got it.
I needed exactly what we did last week. And our first week, probably after our first meeting before I started the HCG, I did go out to HCG and read some of the forums. And a lot of people are talking about, I lost a half a pound today. That's disappointing. I've stalled. That's disappointing. And there's conversation upon conversation of people being frustrated because they've been stuck. But they've lost 20 pounds since they started the protocol. Like the whole thing seems so skewed to me. And
yeah, but if you hadn't been opened up and consciously aware of that, you would have been, yes, oh my gosh, you're essentially unconsciously agreeing with their perspective as if they're legitimately should be upset about, I only lost a half pound. And we just feed into that, right? Like maybe you should do an apple day. Maybe you should cleanse. That might help you lose more weight. That in essence is insanity, helping insanity be more insane.
Mm-hmm.
All you people are part of the insanity. I hate to say it. I would love to get you out. Life is much better outside of it. Praise God. Praise Lord.
There's a much more gentle way to live.
Oh my God. Forgiving, gentle. There is a beautiful relationship between the physical flesh the earth has provided you. There is a loving and caring relationship that is accepting. You don't always have to feel that the flesh that you've been given is flawed. A half a pound, really? A half a pound? Or even a pound isn't good enough? Or a quarter of a pound? Really? Like that's not good enough? Why don't you talk to someone who's had their limbs removed? Now tell me about that half pound and how detrimental it is, right? But don't you and I agree? It's very understandable. When you feel that way, when you feel so weak in your sense of worth, when you have such a low self-esteem, it makes sense to why you would need that micromanagement, especially if your worthiness, especially if you're using this image of beauty, physical body, as the be all end all of your sense of worth. You need to have that half a pound, right? It's like you're imposing these demands on the body that are just really, really abusive. But yet, because we have this severe sense of inadequacy, we justify that as if I am so inadequate that I have to have this reward to feel better about myself. The entire diet industry feeds that insanity. It's like drinking Kool-Aid. And we feed it to each other thinking that's what's going to fix our cultural lack of worth and consciousness. It's like we're all drones and we're unconscious and we're just taking our lives and selling our lives to the diet industry and this beauty complex. Anyways, now that you're out of that matrix, how do you feel?
Oh my God, I feel amazing, and I'm so thankful and grateful. It's and what's so strange is I didn't come for this. I keep saying this. I didn't come for this. I came to lose the weight, and now that's secondary or tertiary. It's not even, I feel great, and my concentration is on all of these other things other than food, and on the scale, and on my shape, and it's amazing.
Well, I would agree. I've been living in this state the moment I chose to accept getting fat. That wasn't what I was going to use any longer as a detriment or a worth. That I would let my body be as fat as it needed to be, that would be worth the freedom to actually live. Mm-hmm. So I let my body be itself. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing when you can just accept the body you have, accept the gender you have, accept the hair that you have. It doesn't mean you can't be in the culture. Does that make sense? It doesn't mean that you can't wear jewelry or I can't straighten my hair. It doesn't mean that I can't enjoy the cultural things that we do. I just don't hold myself emotionally to it. So whether my hair is up in a bun and I didn't put makeup on, or I straighten my hair and put makeup on, neither of those pictures really affect my sense of worth, sexuality, intelligence, value, my security in my marriage. Because ultimately, nothing is more truer than the truth of the truth. So I'd much rather have that and be judged than to not accept that and then live a life full of discontent and insecurity, right? If you're not willing to accept the truth, what's the alternative? Insecurity.
Right. And judging and shame and all of this stuff that goes along with thinking that way.
Yeah. Well, and as a byproduct, what are you doing at other people? You're judging them.
Judging them.
Yeah, there's no way what you project to other people is what you're projecting within yourself. So however you think you're better than, you're going to put people below you if they don't have that same belief system. But anyways, I'm so happy that you had that awareness. And I think moving forward, because you've gone through 2 full weeks of the protocol.
Yeah.
You're into your 3rd week. It's easy to say all of this right now, right?
Here comes the warning, right?
Yeah, and that's what you're paying me for, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here to say, okay, what do you think the risk is? Let's see if you can have the foresight. Pop quiz. I don't care if you're right or wrong. Seriously, I want you to start thinking about what is the risk moving forward. Because right now, you're letting go of this neediness. You're letting the body do its thing because at this point, right, you can trust that it's healing itself. You feel it. You know it. You don't have to micromanage it anymore. You're letting the body do what it does. Are you really do you have anything to do with that?
No.
I know. You really don't, because ultimately you're just eating when you're hungry, eating within the scope of the protocol adequately. And really, is that work?
It's the easiest thing I've ever done.
I know. So don't even tell me you've worked hard for this, because you haven't.
No.
Right?
No.
It's the body that's working, and it's kicking butt, whether it's a half a pound today, 2 pounds tomorrow, or 2+ pounds tomorrow, or, you know, whether you gain 2 or end 2, it doesn't matter. The body's kicking ass. You can just give it to the body. Now, what happens when we transition you off of the protocol and into the real world, where you're hungrier? You're hungrier more often, and you are to explore fats. So I don't know, are you on injections?
No.
Tablets. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so whether you end in a week or 2, or you extend the round into another vial of HCG, whatever you want to do. At some point, you're going to need to transition off. You're going to be hungrier, and you're going to need more food, and your food's going to be a lot more palatable. I mean, could you imagine adding cream to that coffee? Coconut oil, you know, with your meats? Nuts, nut butters, olives. I mean,
I miss olives.
I know you're gonna have those at some point, and you know you're going to need to once again just let your body tell you what it needs, and you're going to have fears of gaining. The goal would be that we diminish those fears to where you are willing to jump into it and find out what happens, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit here and deny that you're going to have fears of regaining. The good news is you don't have any form of quantification to monitor it.
Right.
And what are you left with if you are not using a scale, which is sub-intelligent form of moderating weight, okay? I know you're doing it. It totally sucks. If you're not using a scale, and you're not using a tape measure, and you're not using pants, which I'm hoping you'll ignore. What are you left with?
The way I feel.
The same system you're engaging with right now.
The hunger scale.
Your body. The hunger scale, the palate scale, what sounds good to you scale, but now you have more options, right? So once we transition, so you're going to have to be willing to have more diversity in food. And what does that diversity provide? What does it create in terms of vulnerability to gain?
Well, if there's more diversity, I'm not sure I know where you're going.
What it's challenging, more diversity in food and the removal of HCG, those two combined at one time, what it's challenging is your ability to continue to just listen to your body.
Right.
What happens if you have fear of gaining is you'll end up micromanaging, like saying, oh crap, I've gained a pound today, so I'm going to have to do adjustments with my food, right? Because I'm not willing to have my body fluctuate in weight, even if it's fluid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? We're not doing that. I'm not training you that way, so it should sound a little crazy to you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's not within the scope of what you might do if you revert back into, I cannot gain this weight back, right?
Yeah. I don't want to go back to that thought process. I know how shaming it is. I know how crazy it makes you. And I don't want to go back to that. I feel like I am learning a new way to think about this, and that's without the scale. And it's about my body, and that would make me sad if I went back to that crazy thinking. Is that fair to call it that?
That's relative, but yes, we can say it's crazy. It's crazy relative to an expanded consciousness of an awareness, really, about the understanding of your relationship with your body. It sounds crazy if you have that understanding or awareness, right? To someone who's unaware, we sound crazy.
I thought you were a little nuts the first time I met you.
Heck yeah, you would have. You're like, what's this girl? Some like modern day hippie? She gonna pass me a joint any second now? What's this girl talking about? Peace, love, and happiness? unconditional acceptance of your body? How can anybody do that? Look at you. You're fat, right? So that's why I said that's crazy is a little relative, because we're crazy compared to someone who's stuck in the diet matrix. We sound crazy. Anyways, so yeah, we have to, in preparation for that transition, the more detached you are from your body's looks, detachment versus attachment. Does that make sense? If you're attached to the body's weight, shape, and looks, then you have to micromanage it, because it is a reflection of your worth. If you're detached from it, you don't necessarily need to micromanage or dictate it, because it is whatever it is. It is the truth of your bone structure, the truth of your skin and your organs, and the way your body's living on this planet, right? You have to just let that go. So we need you to continue to detach. And what I would like for you to do is to be able to do visualization, the power of foresight, and visualizing yourself eating in the real world and the way you want to eat, with balance, in health, with nutrients, with pleasure. A realistic way for you to eat moving forward, and what's the risk involved with that. And the risk involved is that if you continue to do what you're doing, if you continue to listen to your body, use your body's guidance, the risk is that, once again, your body is going to evolve the way it's going to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be willing to dance with it.
Mm-hmm.
Am I confusing you?
No. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So visualize yourself gaining 5 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that would feel like? Do you know what it felt like to me?
I've done it 100 times, so I do.
Well, literally, right? Literally, you've gained it. But if you imagine that you've attained the body of acceptance, you've attained this sense of adequacy, and what would happen if your body then had flux? You know what it felt like for me? It felt like I was accepting murder. You know, the state of mind I was in. Accepting that weight gain was as if I was laying limp to murder. That I was accepting, I would rather be murdered than to fight 5 pounds. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. You know, a lot of times people get skewed. They think 1 pound is equal to 20 pounds. So gaining 1 pound literally feels like they're 20 pounds less valuable, right? So for me to say, you're going to have to sit and experience the vulnerable fear of gaining, the literal physical manifestation of you're going to die because of the fear of gaining. At some point, this requires that you accept that and do not defend it. That's the only way to recalibrate your brain chemistry. And on some level, I know you're going to go through it. So if you can prepare yourself to accept the vulnerability of fat gain, this transition for you going into the next phase in the next few weeks, the transition for you is going to be so much more peaceful. It would be like saying we're going to rock the boat, and you need to trust that you have a good sense of navigation. And if the boat's going to fall over, so be it. You can only do the best you can with what you can do. You cannot continue to micromanage. And fear of gaining, that's the risk, right? Accept the risk now.
Okay.
That way too, you know, do you see what that does to your need for weight loss right now? It makes it even less important, to where you're like, I don't even care, right?
Right.
So keep on going is what I guess I'm saying.
Okay.
The best time to do it is right now. It's not once you get into the transition. We need to prepare you from this moment forward.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I'm going to stop this. Thanks for sharing.